Hi, I'm David, and this is Vintage Comic Book Show and Tell. Today I'm lucky enough that I have two people who are going to show us a few comic books. I've got my brother Danny, and I've got Ken Spencer. They brought some comics to show us, and I think I really don't even know. I have an idea because Danny just showed me a couple, but I don't know really what Ken brought.
So I guess I'll start off with the first one.
Yeah.
So this one is Strange Adventures 80. This is one of my favorite sci-fi covers. It's a gray tone cover. This copy is the White Mountain copy, Pedigree collection.
This is one of those books that I think when you see like a really high grade one, you realize that like if you just saw a low grade version of it, you'd probably just like thumb past it. But when you see a high grade one, it just blows your mind.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks. The second book that I brought from the sci-fi portion is Amazing Adventures 4. This is probably my favorite science fiction cover.
Yeah.
It's got everything you could want in a sci-fi cover: an alien, a beautiful woman, a robot. It has all of it. And this book is it's pretty tough to find in nice shape. I actually have about 5 copies of this. I buy this book every time I see it, if I can.
You know what cracks me up about this cover, and I don't own one, but like look at the face on that alien who's driving the robot into kissing that girl.
So is this a book in this genre that people are aware of?
They're starting to become aware of it. It's
Okay.
come up for auction a few times. It's starting to command a pretty high price. I think definitely people that collect 50 stuff and Golden Age are aware of it. It's come into more popularity over the last couple of years, I'd say.
I've seen it around.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I'm going to switch gears from science fiction. I don't collect a lot of pre-code stuff, but I did pick up a few Baker romances when Baker stuff started getting real popular, and I really liked this one here. This is Teenage Romances 31, and the thing I was really drawn to is my name's on the cover, and so
Yeah.
I saw that book and I saw the the great looking Baker art on it, and I just said I have to have it.
When did Baker start to really become someone that people started to seek out? Because when I left collecting, it wasn't
Wasn't a thing.
I hadn't even heard of Baker, and all of a sudden, when I came back, everyone was just chasing Baker. And I'll
I
tell
don't
you,
know. Didn't it start becoming really popular? I mean, he's always been popular, but like 4 or 5, 6
Yeah,
years ago.
that's what I would say is
Yeah.
where the prices started going
I
up.
did bring one Baker book. It is also Teenage Romances. This one is number 33.
I love that one.
This one is particularly hard to get. There's not too many high-grade copies. This one was a 6.5, and it came out of a collection called the Sixth Street Collection, which was a lot of Baker books that were starting to be listed on eBay auctions a few years back. And really nice books in that collection. The prices were pretty strong at the time, and so I passed on a lot of them. But this cover really grabbed me just because of the greens on it and the baseball theme. I like the whole concept of it. And so I did buy one book out of that collection. When I got it in hand, I fell in love with it and I wanted more. All of those books got pulled from eBay and from a lawsuit of some sort. They stopped listing them. All of them got pulled. No more were listed. I never got a chance to get another copy from that collection.
What I've liked, and I've told you this before, Ken, is like if you ever sell this, I want it because I just love the baseball cover.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think the old uniforms and just the style of the way the players are drawn is just very cool. And like Ken said, the green cover is different.
I only have 4 Baker books in my collection. I used to have a few more that I sold. I even had the ultra classic Cinderella Love 25 that I sold, but this one has to be a keeper. So that one, at least for the time being, is not for sale. One more romance book, Silver Age, Young Romance 150. This book is kind of considered a classic cover by Silver Age romance collectors.
Dang, that's nice.
I see them around occasionally. Usually they're like low grade, but it's just iconic with the the reflection in the sunglasses, the color scheme on it and everything.
You know, what's kind of interesting is, so after pre-code romance didn't really have the covers that grabbed you as much after the code came out, but then DC in the late 60s started really having some fantastic covers on their romance books. Young Romance was a really long-lived title. That started off as probably an early 50s title,
Yeah.
and went into the 70s, so it really ran for a long time.
Well, I'm not familiar with this cover, and it's incredible. It really is. I mean, that's awesome. Are these hard to find?
This issue in particular is pretty hard to find. A low-grade copy sold for $75.
Okay.
Fairly recently on eBay, but there's only one. There's not very many copies, and when you see them, they're typically like good condition.
Right.
Good to very good.
All right, so the next book I brought is, so I collect a lot of sets, and the very first set I ever collected, starting when I was a kid, was Brave and the Bold. The first issue we basically call the pre-hero Brave and the Bolds, because
Okay.
they had all adventure characters, and so it was the Silent Knight, the Golden Gladiator, and eventually Robin Hood and the Viking Prince. Viking Prince and Silent Knight were my two favorites, but this is a Brave and the Bold #1 from 1955. I think currently the census highest is an 8.0, so I'm pretty happy to have a 7.0 of that book.
Yeah, that one's nice.
Great story and art in there.
Right.
Kubert on the Viking Prince, and the Silent Knight was one of my favorites. So
When did Showcase come out in comparison with this?
about the same year. They both came out, I think, late 55, early 56, because, you know, Showcase 4 came out in 56. That's the Flash issue.
Right.
So this one was adventure themed, and Showcase was more like every issue was a different, like a tryout book.
Right. So how long you been collecting Brave and the Bold then?
My whole time I've been a collector, I've collected Brave and the Bold, so close to 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
it is. It is.
Too long.
You know what? I'll do one more Brave and the Bold, because I brought two, and since I did the
Yeah.
first one. High grade pre-hero ones are extremely rare.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to get this one in a collection not long ago, and it's a 9.2 with a Robin Hood cover. Robin Hood was only on a few covers, and he didn't make it through the whole pre-hero run. He was only in about, I don't know, I think from number
That's
Yeah, that's super nice.
that's such a nice
5 or
book.
something like that, to around the teens. And I didn't have this issue when this came around, so it wasn't like I was upgrading, because I've been known to like upgrade issues I had in lower grade to nicer ones, but I was really excited to get this one because I didn't even have a number 12 at all.
Is this an issue that's very low census?
All of the issues are pretty low census, and they're popular enough with collectors in the higher grades that there's competition for them in the auctions when you go after them.
Right. Beautiful copy.
Yeah,
That is just as nice as it gets. Beautiful. Thank you.
really nice. The next couple of books I brought are more like superhero type of category, although this one's not really superhero, but it's kind of in that vein. This is Headline Comics 10. This is the first Golden Age book that I ever bought from Comic Link. Right when Comic Link started, they were advertising in the CBG.
Oh my God.
Just started their website, and this was around the time that the photojournal guide to comics came out, and I had never seen most of the covers in those journals, and this one stood out to me as one of them that I liked a lot.
These pages are so white, you can tell it just by looking at the book.
It's the Mile High copy. That's a pedigree. That's from the Mile High collection. And like I said, the first Golden Age book I bought, and it has a lot of sentimental value to me. And I still really like the cover art on it. I think it's an awesome looking book. So yeah,
Yeah, I see. You can see the inside of the book. It's just so white.
You can tell just by looking at it, it's got white pages.
yeah,
This is different, folks. I have never seen this
it's an
book.
unusual cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And the other superhero book I brought is Bronze Age. This is a classic Neil Adams cover. This one, I like Neil Adams artwork a lot. I brought a lot of 50s stuff, but I really like Neil Adams. This cover's iconic. Got this one years ago from a collection called the Monterey Collection. A lot of original owner stuff in that collection.
I'm looking at the way the staples are in it, and it almost makes me mad at the book. It's like so perfect. This book's just a tough book. It's like anyone who's ever had a copy of it has saved this book, you know. And you see like such low grade copies of this book out there. You really don't want to buy a 9/8 slab because they're so expensive.
Right.
And it just doesn't feel like something you'd want to invest in like that. So you look for raw copies, and this is just beautiful. Most people who have copies that are this grade, you would not see it raw. It's a rare thing to be able to handle a book like this in a Mylar, you know, and really get to look at it. So,
But you know, when you buy them raw like this and you're a collector, there's a part of you that your preference is to keep them in this. It's just better to enjoy them.
Now, if I had bought this in a 9/8 slab, I don't think I'd have cracked it out because I wouldn't want to crack a 9/8 out. Buying it raw, I have no desire to get that graded. It doesn't matter to me if it's 9/6 or 9/8. While it's in my collection, I just prefer it like this.
yeah, this is the nicest copy I've ever seen. It makes me want to cry a little.
This book is one of my favorite, probably in my top 2 or 3 favorite covers of all time. Wow Comics 38. I love this cover like I love Amazing Adventures 4. This is another one of those books that I own several copies of. This is the Elden Copy. It's a collection called the Elden Copy.
Look at this.
It was graded 8.0, really nice 8.0. I just think the composition of this with no word balloons, the title itself in combination with Mary Marvel is just spectacular. I think it's one of the best covers ever drawn. Every time I'd show anybody this book, they'd say, I've never seen that book before, I've never seen it, but it's a great cover. Now it's finally getting a lot of recognition. The Promise copy of this sold fairly recently. It was a 9.4. I mean, a really nice copy. This book's become like notable to a lot of people as a great cover. It should be listed as a classic cover, in my
It's
opinion.
beautiful, yeah. It's just iconic.
So I collect Superboy. I've collected that series, kind of like Brave and the Bold, for decades. I had an opportunity a little over 10 years ago. There was a collection called the Williamsport Collection. And there was a couple issues of Superboy that I needed that came up in that collection. One I won in an auction, and the other I actually found the owner of that collection and bought from him. So the first one is Superboy number 5, which I think, in my opinion, is one of the tougher issues to get from the early run of Superboy. And it's noted as the first book that has a Supergirl on the cover, although it's not the Supergirl of today. I had it graded. It's an 8.0. It sat on the top of the census until the Promise collection came out.
Oh, really?
And then the Promise had a 9.4, and it went for monster money.
What year is this from?
1950.
So this is the very end of the Promise collection.
Right.
Yeah, in time period.
Right. Well, I think he might have had close to the first 10 or 12 issues of Superboy, maybe
Right.
the 51. But up until the Promise books came out, this was top census book from the time I graded it. It's just a really great early issue of Superboy. And then the second Williamsport book I brought from the Superboy collection is one I won at an auction, and this is the first appearance of Lana Lang. And if you collect Superman or Superboy stuff, Lana's a big character. And that's Superboy number 10. And
I
that's
used to own a copy of that as well.
yeah,
I
and
don't
that-
have it anymore.
From the same collection, so some guy bought both of these brand new, so they're together for now and into eternity.
Great cover.
So I brought a couple of pre-code horror books to show because I've started to get into these in the last few years. I'm a little late to the party on these, but I do like a lot of these covers. So first one I brought, Marvel Tales 126, really good Harry Anderson cover. I like this artist's style a lot. Everett, is one of the artists known for doing a lot of these books, and he's well collected, but Harry Anderson did some really great covers on these.
I love the colors in that book. That's a really clean copy.
This was a 9.0. It's single highest graded on the census, and I cracked it out because I crack out a lot of stuff. I like my books in Mylars, but this was the highest graded copy on the census.
I've seen the covers to Marvel's Tales, and it's so noticeable. Like at the time the code came out, the covers shifted dramatically from the content that was on them.
Something about it just grabs me. I just like I like their facial expressions a lot on this.
Very dark. I noticed there's just a lot of ink on these, on a lot of the Marvel tales. They're just really dark.
This book is really unusual. This has a cover by a guy named William Ekron, and there's only 3 comic books with his covers, and he was a painter.
Sorry.
Who was working on the streets of New York City doing paintings, and the publisher of this book saw some of his original art and purchased it and got the rights to produce covers with 3 of his paintings. This is one of them. This is my favorite cover by him. It's just so unusual, the styling, the colors on it, and it's a rare book. This book does not show up in grade ever. I mean, this book is incredibly tough to get, and I was thrilled to get it. It came out of an original owner collection. It's in amazing condition, great page quality, and amazing color strike on it.
Yeah, this is the type.
This is a book you'd either love or hate because the artwork is so unusual. I'm sure a lot of people think it's ugly, or they're like, why does he like that book at all? But I love it.
Do you have the other 2 books the artist
I
did?
don't have the other 2 books.
I was willing to spend a lot of money on this particular book. Somebody else bought it.
Oh, is this one that? Yeah, this is one that you saw like as part of that collection.
Yeah. I just think this is next level. So I really do admire your taste in cover art. So.
Thank you.
I collect some really obscure stuff. I love this series from DC called Sugar and Spike. It's just a series I liked as a kid. I can't say I've collected it since a kid, but it's one I enjoyed as a kid. I thought Sheldon Mayer, both the artist and the writer, I thought he was kind of a genius. I feel like if you watch shows like Rugrats and stuff, you'll see that, they must have been reading Sugar and Spike comics. Sugar and Spike #1 is kind of a scarce comic, especially in any kind of mid-grade or higher. I had an opportunity at the 1986 San Diego Comic-Con to buy what I thought was a really nice copy, and it was $400, which was all the money I had that year, and I just couldn't spend it all on one comic. And to this very day, I think that was a mistake, because that was probably the nicest copy of that book that I've ever seen. But I did pick this one up a few years ago, and it's Sugar and Spike #1 in a 5.5. Again, this series ran for 98 issues from 1955, 56 to around 1971. And it's just a great series.
How many issues of that series do you have so far?
Close to 80, I believe.
Oh, so you're closing in on completing it.
You can find the missing issues that I'm needing, in low grade, but I'm trying to find nice presenting copies. And that whole adage about the journey is the destination, and it's like just finding one issue gets me excited. If I find one issue at a show or online that I need, I get really excited that that's one more issue I found, and maybe I'll complete it someday, and maybe I won't, but if I do, it will definitely be a testament to patience.
Yeah, no doubt. So the last little stack that I brought are L.B. Cole cover books, because I really love L.B. Cole covers. So I'll show you some of these. These are a few of my favorites from my collection. I probably have about 60 or more L.B. Cole cover books, and I'm still actively buying them. But this is one of my favorites right here, Thrilling Crime 49. Just an absolute classic cover.
This will wake you up.
Listed as a classic cover. I think this has so much going for it.
Yeah.
Even the title of this is pretty incredible.
His use of color is just amazing.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with Cole, and it's one of the first things Danny showed me when I came back to collecting, and my first response was, I don't like it. And
is that right? Because
I didn't like it at first, and I had to kind of come back to it.
And Cole did a lot of genres, from crime and sci-fi, romance, horror, jungle. He did so many things.
It was
he
the
was
ho-
very prolific.
yeah.
He did a lot of covers.
It was the horror stuff that Danny showed me, and it's
Yeah.
almost like a street art. So as I circled back to it and I looked at it some more, I couldn't stop looking at it, and it ended up that I really gravitated towards him.
There is one L.B. Cole book that I don't like, and it's considered a classic, and so many people think, I've heard people say it's his best cover, and I think they're crazy to say that. I believe it's the Contact 12. It's just a really
spaceship.
simplistic
Yeah.
space scene, and I think it is the most simplistic.
It's got a ship,
Worst
and some
Cole
ship
cover.
and some planets, right? Is that the one?
Yeah, I don't get why people think that's so great. And I love L.B. Cole, and that cover doesn't do anything for me. I don't own a copy. I would get one just to have it.
This is fantastic.
I love this
I
cover.
mean, this is amazing. Yeah.
The only
This-
reason I don't own
Tell us what you think in the comments.
the only reason I don't own any LB Cole books at all is because the
'Cause I own
completist
them
in
all.
me, the completist in me would go crazy, and I can't afford to go crazy on those books.
Yeah. What are
I'm
those?
glad you're not going after them, because now you're my competition on ECs, and I don't like that.
What are those like to get? Are those difficult to get in high grade?
This issue right here,
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about that issue in particular.
there are a few high grade issues. It's pretty hard to get above 8.0, but in high grade, it doesn't show up too often, and it's a lot of competition for it.
Okay.
But it's not super hard to get in lower, mid to lower grade. You can get a nice presenting copy in those grades if
Okay.
you like that cover art a lot. This cover is one of his more horror types of covers, Startling Terror Tales 10.
Oh, goodness gracious.
This, I think, is a fantastic cover.
Oh, yeah. This is all I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's sick.
I mean, the
I got
colors
this off the
just jump
CGC
out.
boards from someone years ago.
That is.
It's a really nice copy.
Yeah, I love that. Graded 9.0. I think that's a terrific cover by him.
She really doesn't look very happy right now.
I have looked inside the Startling Terror Tales, and the art on the interior is not awesome.
He does some artwork in a lot of his books that is really
Okay.
good, but some stories in these books aren't great.
The colors, though, man.
The colors are.
I mean, he's got
That's what
orange.
grabs
Yeah, he's
me.
got orange hair. This is fantastic. I am not familiar with this cover.
You're not?
I am not.
That's sick.
Yeah, I love this.
This is one of his jungle books. He did quite a few
Okay.
jungle titles. I picked this
Oh, yeah.
example to show just again
It's called
because
Monsters in the Jungle.
of the color scheme again. It's like classic Cole type of illustration and colors. The resemblance is similar to this one, and as far as like color scheme and
It is. Dude, this has zombies in the jungle.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
You can't go wrong with zombies anywhere, but
Yeah.
in the jungle. Look at the zombie. Is he missing an eye? He's like chasing his girl. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I like his jungle stuff a lot. I really think the jungle books that he did are great.
That's
And then
awesome.
this was an example of a romance book that he did that I just brought. The romance books are, for the
Sorry.
most part, really hard to get in high grade. Oftentimes the highest graded copies of these things might be 7 or 8.0. This one's never been graded, but it's a nice copy.
Really nice copy.
It's just odd. The woman's coming in from outside. It just looks like outer space there. Roaring fire in the foreground. It's got a lot of unusual.
You notice though on these covers how the person who's observing the other people is never noticed by the other people. Like,
Yeah.
don't you think they would know she's standing there looking?
They're
at
kind of tied up, man. I mean, they're a little tied up. The color on this is really amazing. He was such a great artist.
A point I want to make before we finish, since that's our last book, is like almost all of these books here are, I would say, uncommon. We can collect DC and Marvel keys. They would be one of many that exist, but every book here is one of only a few that are known in these kind of grades, and I think that's what makes them even more special. If you say like that thrilling crime that Ken showed, and you say I want a copy, you may go to a convention or online and not find any copies for sale
Right.
in nice shape, and it might take you a while. Or if you like the WoW 38 with the Marvel, Mary Marvel.
That one would take you a while. I check eBay every single day for that book to see if the copies come up, and I go sometimes over a year or years before any copy shows up for sale on eBay. But you asked me which one of these LB Coles I like the most out of these, and I still go with Thrilling Crime 49 is my favorite out of this batch. I like them all so much that there's a very small difference between how much I like each of these.
So yeah, that was great. Thank you guys for sharing books with all of us. Of all the books that I saw today, it's definitely the Weird Horrors. It's the kind of comic book that really makes me understand why I've always gravitated towards comic art, because it doesn't have to be like anything else. And if you're looking at Superboy #1, or if you're looking at this, or if you're looking at Thrilling Crime, as a kid, when I looked at comic books, it opened me up to all of the art that I like today, which can be anything from Basquiat to Andy Warhol to this, you know. So anyway, thanks for tuning in and watching us, and hopefully leave some comments, let us know what you think, and next time we're going to have some completely different comic books. So thanks a lot. Have a great.
Thank you.
Bye now.